What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. So we've been talking about Nintendo's war on Switch piracy for years now, since it was cracked wide open with a simple paperclip. But now it looks like Nintendo is bypassing the websites distributing ROMs and going straight to the ISPs through the court system. We're gonna go over that one here today. Also, we are gonna be talking about those PlayStation games that appeared to have leaked early, and now it looks like they've been confirmed for the month of January. And we're also gonna be taking a trip back to E3 2006 when Nintendo first unveiled the Wii. Guys, if you enjoy these videos, make sure that like button helps out a ton. And if you're new here to the Spawnwave channel, make sure you subscribe down below and ring that notification bell so you can keep up to date with all the uploads here on the channel. And we're going to start today with Mortal Kombat Trilogy. Do you remember this game when it first came out on the PS1 or the Nintendo 64, and you got to that title screen and then you got to the character select screen and there were characters all over it, filled up the entire TV? Well, it does look like there's a group of developers that want to remake this game for current platforms. And we can see this here as they have now started up a change.org petition. And I gotta admit, whenever I see change.org petitions, I don't really have a lot of confidence in them actually changing anything. But I mean, at this point, it looks like they've at least had the blessing from Ed Boon to do this, and they are now trying to convince Warner Bros. That it is a good idea, as Warner Bros. It doesn't have much confidence that it would sell over 100,000 units worldwide. This is from iBallistic, who currently has other contracts set up to develop games for the Xbox, the PlayStation, and the Switch, and they would like to take a shot here at Mortal Kombat Trilogy, putting it into Unreal Engine 5, and according to them, using some of their own technology when it comes to rollback netcode. So it looks like they're looking for 25,000 signatures. I don't necessarily think WB is going to look at this and say, wow, 25,000 people sign this. Well, we have to do it. This is a bit different than from signing your name and then putting down, as they are saying, about $40 for this game for them to get over the 100,000 unit mark. But I would like to see it, so I'm hoping that they get their 25,000 signatures and WB at least decides to green light it to see what happens. Also, it looks like we have an Nvidia conference to look forward to next week. We can see this tweet where they say, join us for a special broadcast event on Tuesday, January 4th at 8 a.m. Pacific for some exciting news in the world of gaming. And most likely, this is gonna be them showing off the 3090 Ti. No, I'm serious. I know it sounds weird because people are still looking high and low for, well, any video card, a 3070, a 3080, a 3090. And then here's Nvidia showing up with an even more powerful 3090 card. The reason I'm saying that's most likely gonna be here is because it already leaked out last week, and it appears like it's set to release at the end of January. So most likely, they're gonna be showing it off here for the first time officially and going over specifications and all of that. The thing I miss, though, for video cards is when these companies like AMD and Nvidia would try to get a lot out of budget cards. So like a $200 card, that was really interesting to see. Whereas now they go for like $1,000, $2,000 video cards, and then they throw all the bells and whistles on there. But hey, if you're someone who's like, you know what, that 3090 is just not powerful enough, look forward to the Ti model most likely being shown off next week. Oh, and if you're still someone looking for a PlayStation 5, which based on the many polls I do and the comments that I read, that's most people, it does appear that GameStop will be having these in stock today for pro members. If you see this video when it first goes up in the morning, you probably have a good shot to get the GameStop and wait outside in line, but it looks like these are gonna be for bundles. Now you can see some of the stores here that have been released just kind of in a list showing off the participating locations. So I'll leave that link down below if you wanna go through it and see if there are any near you where you can go buy what would probably be like an $800 or so bundle. And right now on eBay, they're like $1,000. So if you look at the bundle, it's like the PS5, extra controller, PlayStation Network card, maybe a game. Doesn't look as bad then when just the system itself is more than that on eBay. So certainly worth checking out if you've been looking for a PS5 since release. And guys, with some of the quick news out of the way, let's get into the bigger stuff. Let's start right away with some sad news, and that is the passing of John Madden. We can see this press release from the NFL where they say, earlier today we received the sad news that the great John Madden died unexpectedly this morning. He was 85. And I know this is like football related, but obviously we have Madden football. It's been releasing for probably longer than a lot of people watching this right now have been alive. I mean, it's been a mainstay in the video game world. And the thing with John Madden that's very interesting is different generations are going to remember him in different ways. Like, you may be a little older, remember him as a coach. Maybe a little younger, remember him as the commentator. That'd be my generation. Or maybe you're very young and you just know Madden as that football game that you buy every year. So the way I remember John Madden, though, as a commentator, is someone who would break things down into very simple terms. And if you're watching with your family on Thanksgiving or Christmas games or something, he would break things down with X's and O's, but not use like the crazy out there football lingo that a lot of commentators would use then. It'd just be very basic stuff to where, yeah, your mom or dad or somebody who doesn't really care about football understands why that play worked or why that play didn't work. And while I'm sure people look at his name mostly just being used for the game and that's it, like he didn't have much input. No, he actually did quite a bit for Madden NFL football when it was back first being made on like the Super Nintendo and the Genesis. I noticed this from New York Post, and we can see this here, where it says, when they approached Madden, he saw the video game as a chance to teach people football or a tool for coaches. It almost didn't happen as he quickly shot down the idea of it being a 7-on-7 game. Doing so would be a deal breaker. If it's not 11-on-11, it's not real football, Madden said. If it was going to be me, and going to be pro football, it has to be 22 guys on screen. If we couldn't do that, we couldn't have a game. EA agreed, and the rest is video game and pop culture history. So yeah, John Madden was beating EA over the head longer than most of us have been alive. And I mean, we look at him as, like I said, the video game brand, right, on the games. We look at him as the commentator. We look at him as the coach. But the biggest thing here is the impact he's had on, I mean, the game of football, but most people's lives. So yes, rest in peace to the legend, John Madden. And I will say, if you're just curious about John Madden's life or want to learn more about him, there's a really good documentary that released on Christmas Day. It was a great watch, and I completely recommend checking it out. Next up, let's talk about Nintendo and their never-ending war on Switch piracy, specifically the distribution of the ROMs themselves, which has been a problem. I mean, think about all the games we talk about for the Switch, the big marketing, the hype, all this stuff, and then a week before it leaks online. That's consistent. Seems to happen every single time. So Nintendo is now trying to figure out, how do we stop this from happening? And while they are contacting different websites with cease and desist and takedown notices, it doesn't seem to be working. So now they are just going to the source. We can see this on Torrent Freak, where they say, in an effort to restrict access to pirated ROMs illegally made available for its Switch console, Nintendo has obtained a UK High Court injunction against 6 internet service providers targeted against ROM portals with NSW2U and NSW ROM branding. The 2-year blocking order requires BT, Virgin, Sky, TalkTalk, and others to block the sites after they failed to respond to infringement complaints, which we've actually talked about that a little bit here. Nintendo's won court cases against different ROM sites, and even Team Executor and others who are providing basically ways to get around their security through mod chips and all these things and selling them on eBay and Amazon or websites. And some of those people just didn't even pay Nintendo. Like, they had one person set up to where they had to pay them basically like $100 or so every month for the rest of their lives, and they didn't make the first payment. So Nintendo at this time is just trying to figure out how to get these ROMs like pulled down, and they're going to internet service providers to block them completely. Now, this is in the UK. I'm wondering if Nintendo is going to attempt this other places in the world, and at least for now, it appears to be for Switch games, and for Nintendo that makes sense because obviously, they don't want their first-party games to be downloaded, but they also have to continue to keep confidence with third-party developers, because as soon as they realize that their games are very easy to download and pirate, they'll be less inclined necessarily to develop for that system. So Nintendo will continue to escalate against these different ROM websites and groups that are hosting these different games. I'm just hoping they don't get like too crazy with it and go after Nintendo, Super Nintendo, Game Boy, GameCube, all these other ones that they have done a very poor job preserving themselves and providing it for people with like the Switch. You figure Nintendo would have done that like crazy and done a full subscription service, more so than what they have with Nintendo Switch Online, but it's a struggle just to get more than one Nintendo 64 game a month, it seems now. And as I understand the Switch stuff, they want to keep that to a minimum if they can, but hopefully they don't necessarily try to start pulling down all of their legacy titles they've failed to preserve and provide. Next up, let's talk about those leaked PlayStation games for the month of January that we talked about last week. And it looks like that leak was correct, and we'll continue to follow this source because they've been right the past 6 months now in a row. And we can see this post up by PlayStation Blog. January monthly games. These will be available January 4th, and yeah, We've seen these before. Deep Rock Galactic, that's on the PS5 and the PS4. Dirt 5, that's on the PS5 and the PS4. And then Persona 5 Strikers, that's the PS4 version, but obviously through backwards compatibility, it'll work on the PlayStation 5. Now, I did see some people comment about Deep Rock Galactic. 1, people really seem to like that game, so probably worth checking that one out. And 2, it is also available on Game Pass. So, hey, if you're on Xbox, you can check it out there as well. But I think this lineup is very good, especially after what we saw with Games with Gold, which was very underwhelming. So again, these will be available January 4th. Completely recommend signing in. Just claim all of these, add them to your library. That should be obvious though. But then Persona 5 Strikers, I think this is a good spot for it, as more people will try out a game that maybe they would have passed on originally. Persona 5 Strikers is more action-based than the typical Persona 5 style, where it's like a turn-based JRPG. I like turn-based games, but I understand it doesn't necessarily pull in like the mainstream audience. Everything's mostly moving to action-based RPGs, as we've seen with something like Final Fantasy VII Remake. It's one of the reasons I like things like Octopath Traveler, Triangle Strategy, and Dragon Quest XI, because they've really stuck to the traditional strategy or turn-based routes. And then I think Dirt 5 is a good complement to go with something like Persona 5 Strikers. Takes advantage of the advanced haptic feedback on the PS5 controller, so a really good month here for Sony, and we'll keep an eye on that source that continues to leak correctly all the PlayStation Plus games, and we'll see what they have for February. And in our last bit of news, let's talk about E3 2006, because there was a video that was uploaded that was really cool to see, as it has now been upscaled to 4K, which some of those older videos from back in the day in the mid-2000s, they're all like 480, and it just doesn't look very good when you put it on, say, a larger flat screen. You blow it up, it looks blurry, crushed, all of this. But we can see this video. This was posted up by Gold Medal Sonic, Nintendo E3 2006 press conference. It was pulled off of the DVD and upscaled from 720 by 480 up to 4K 60. And this is ripped from Nintendo 2006 E3 update. And it's pretty cool because, of course, you go back, we already know what happened with the E3 2006 and beyond that, where the Wii was extremely successful. But this is a time where we were coming off the GameCube and we had no idea what Revolution was. I mean, there were leaks and rumors out there online, but like Nintendo, I think, shocked everyone. That includes the Microsoft, as we heard stories that Bill Gates was like, how did we not see this coming? Where they went more towards the mainstream with motion controls, but they still had things like The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess ready to go. In fact, if you watch this E3 presentation, yes, they show off Wii Sports quite a bit and some more mainstream looking driving games where they're like moving the Wii remote, but they also showed off like Red Steel, like I said, Twilight Princess, and a couple of others. So certainly one to go back and kind of hit that nostalgia bone a bit. And it was really cool to see the entirety, over an hour of it being upscaled to 4K. So yeah, you could throw this on a bigger set and kind of just take a trip back to 2006. And if you missed it completely, maybe you were a bit younger at the time, it's certainly worth going back and seeing how things were 15 years ago when the Wii was first being shown off. And before we go to the comment of the day, we're taking a little poll that I posted up yesterday, where I asked, will Metroid Prime 4 from Retro Studios see its big reveal in 2022? This is very split. 48% said yes, 52% said no. All right, so like I said, it's down the middle right now. It's gonna come down to the runway Nintendo wants to give this thing for marketing and how confident they are in the project, because I feel like they're gonna be very conservative with this announcement. Basically, this game has to be very close to being done before they really show it off, after what happened with its initial development, where it sounded like they gave it a shot, they outsourced some stuff, and it just didn't work. Now it's with Retro Studios, who apparently had another Metroid project in development, that being the remake of the original Metroid Prime. At least that's the rumor right now. And I feel like they're gonna show Metroid Prime 4 and they'll be like, oh yeah, it's out later this year. So that's one of the reasons I think we'll see it for the first time to kick off 2023, and it'll be like a holiday 2023 title, and they'll spend that year just kind of building it up and marketing it. I think 2022 will be that Metroid Prime remake that's been rumored heavily from Retro Studios. But either way, I think we're gonna see something Metroid related next year. And we'll finish up with the comment of the day as you're seeing here. This is from Joe saying, honestly, what Logan does with what he buys is his own business. Sure, 15 good Game Boys are gone, but like was said, there are plenty out there. If I would have done that, I would have just bought empty shells, plastic screen covers, do the title screen printout idea to make it look legit. Yeah, there are other ways he could have gone about this as we had talked about, because the Game Boy Color itself, there are quite a few of them out there, but whenever we buy Game Boy Colors, at least a lot of people I know, we don't really use it in its current state. We modify it, we do all kinds of stuff, change the screen out, or like when I bought one and we did a whole video like changing out different parts of it, I legitimately just opened it, took the board out, everything else went to the side. So if he had taken the boards out of those Game Boy Colors, people probably wouldn't have cared at all. And I like the idea of the cutouts. I think that would have been fun. But again, it's his property. He can do what he wants with it. And ladies and gentlemen, that's good to hear for Newswave. If you enjoyed this video, guys, hit that like button, it really helps out. If not, hit the dislike. Leave comments down below about everything we talked about here today. Was your favorite memories around John Madden? Was the coach, the commentator, or the video game? Or what about Nintendo going to the ISPs through the court system to block these different Switch ROM websites? Or E3 2006, Nintendo taking its first real deep dive into the Wii? What did you think about it at the time? Thanks guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.